Hello and welcome to another episode of Wiggy Reviews. Today we're going to go into a few darker themes and subjects with an author who's very good at writing that way. So today we're going to take a look at Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. So most people are familiar with Gillian Flynn for writing Gone Girl, a very successful book that became I believe a successful movie. I haven't had a chance to see the movie. And if you knew anyone who read the book, or if you yourself read Gone Girl, you remember all the twists and turns and the dark subject matters and all that. So I will have to place a warning for this, that there will be talk of some very disturbing things, including murder, sex, and self-mutilation. So there's the warning there. I'll place another warning at the beginning if I hadn't already. Here we go. So Sharp Objects was, if I remember correctly, is actually Gillian Flynn's first book that she wrote before Gone Girl. And it takes place in Wind Gap, Missouri. The main character is Camille Preaker, who is a reporter for the Daily Post in Chicago. She was originally from Wind Gap. But she's going back because there's been a string of murders, there's been a couple murders in the small town, and her editor, Frank Curry, has asked her to go to the town since she was from there to see if she can get a jump on the story before any other big papers pick it up. So she's a little reluctant to go back because she didn't have a very fantastic childhood, but I'll get into that. So she heads back, and the murders that are going on are little girls are being kidnapped, and they are found later dead with their teeth pulled out. As with most stories about reporters trying to get the scoop on stories, people are reluctant to help her, even though she's from there. They think she's kind of being a pariah, a leech, just out for the story and not caring about the actual people involved. She stays with her family, her mother, Adora, her stepfather, Alan, and her stepsister, Amma, A-M-M-A, Amma. And right away, you get the feeling that something's not quite right. Her mother is she's old money, so she's very, high society, doesn't want to talk about bad things. She kind of resents her daughter for not letting her kind of take care of her as much as she wanted to, and Camille kind of resents her mother because her first stepsister, whose name was Marianne, died when they were both really young, so she kind of blames her mother for that death. Her stepfather, Alan, is just kind of a body, really. He doesn't really do anything. He's married to Adora, and they love each other, but he's very, very kind of bland, I guess. And then her stepsister, Amma, who was born after Marianne died, and after Camille was older and began pulling away from the family. Amma is the prettiest girl in the town, most popular girl in the town. Everyone knows her. Everyone fears her because she's the most popular girl, so she's mean to other people to keep her title as the top girl. Anyway, so that's a brief story about the family. The murders that take place are very gruesome, and of course, since Camille is a reporter, like I said, no one wants to talk to her, really. Even the police are kind of pushing her away, but the Wind Gap police have also brought in their own help from Kansas City, a detective named Richard Willis, who gets to know Camille as she tries to get information about the murder so she can write her story, so she can get out of the town as fast as she can. Doesn't want to be there, because it just brings up all these bad memories for her. So pretty basic story, pretty much a whodidit murder mystery that's going on. And then we get into the well-known things about Gillian Flynn. Gillian Flynn is very good, in my opinion, at writing horrible people. Now, let me just say it this way. When I say horrible people, what I mean is writing the realities of people. like how they would actually react to these situations, or how they would actually have, human emotions in situations like this. There is also, blame is trying to be pointed everywhere. They say, oh, maybe it's a stranger, because nobody in the town would kill anyone. Well, it must be somebody in the town, because why would the girls go off with them if they didn't trust them? So there is kind of rumors going around about who the murderer is, and it's actually the brother of one of the murdered girls, and his name was John Keene, and his sister Natalie Keene was murdered, as well as and she was the second girl murdered. The first girl murdered was Anne Nash. I know it's very confusing because I didn't present that in a very fluid way, but stick with me, it'll make sense soon. So John Keene is kind of being blamed for the murders, kind of within the town. They kind of think he did it because the Keene family weren't originally from Wind Gap. They moved there, and there were stories going around that it's because Natalie Keene was a bit of a violent child. So they think, well, must run in the family. If the younger sister was violent, then of course the older brother must be violent. He probably killed them. And so, the typical mindset of a small town that is always presented in fiction, which unfortunately in some cases it probably ends up being more true. So anyways, here's the thing about the book. It's a good murder mystery. It is Gillian Flynn's first a major release, I guess, of a murder mystery, so it doesn't have as many twists and turns as Gone Girl did. Gone Girl was like, oh, maybe it was this, oh, no, it wasn't, oh, reveal. This one, there weren't as many reveals as there were just kind of hints at everything, and in my opinion, it was a little predictable, but there was still, one major surprise that happened, but I don't want to ruin it for anyone who's interested in reading the book, because it is a good book to read, I think, because I think it handles the delicate subject of mental illness pretty well, because if you couldn't tell from the cover, which has a switchblade on it, and the title Sharp Objects, one thing that's not a spoiler, really, because they tell you pretty early in the book, is our main character, Camille Preaker, is a recovering cutter. A unique cutter. This is actually a very unique thing that I'm sure actually does happen. I'm not familiar with mental illnesses personally, so I can't really be a strong voice on this, but I do know that Camille's character, her method of cutting, which actually helped lead her into becoming a reporter, ironically, is that she always felt that words were trapped under her skin, and she would cut them out to free them. Otherwise, they would just continue to burn under her skin and drive her crazy. Well, drive her mad. So one of the interesting things about the character is that she is covered, basically from her wrists all the way across her chest, stomach, legs, everywhere except for her face and parts of her neck, and one area on her back, she has words carved into her skin. And so she's very cautious about letting people... She's very cautious and very self-conscious about her, people discovering these scars that she has. And her mother, doesn't ever want to talk about it. And then it always leads to fighting and blah, 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 blah. But you can tell the whole time that Camille is back in this town, which actually helped lead her into self-mutilation, you realize as she's going through all these things that she spends longer and longer in the town, she's slowly deteriorating back into her teenage self, her younger self, and she's slowly starting to feel the pressures build up again. She is constantly having to fight to not carve words into her skin. She'll be writing words in felt pen and with ballpoint pen on her skin as though she were cutting herself, just kind of to give a little bit of a release. And I think that Gillian Flynn handled it well, this subject well. I know it's a very touchy subject for people because self-mutilation is a very serious thing, and it can lead to very serious consequences. So I think Gillian Flynn actually handled it very well, very appropriately, properly, I don't know, I could use all the same terms for the same word, but I think she handled it well, and it actually made the character stronger to show that she survived this to herself. What else can I talk about? The relationships are great. Some of them are just so funny in the sense of how real they are. Like, you really feel like you're listening to people talking and gossiping and behind each other's backs, and like it's a really good sense of a small town terrified of something they don't understand. Like, why would anyone want to kill 2 little girls? I don't know if I mentioned that they were little girls. They're little girls, like 9-10-year-olds, and to like strangle them and then to pull their teeth out. Like, it's a horrifying thing to happen in a small town that was very, you know, pretty calm up till then, where the craziest things that happen are underage drinking and underage sex. Like, and the relationship that's the most interesting is actually between Amma and Camille, Camille and her stepsister Amma. It's very interesting because they don't even start really having a real relationship in the book until pretty much almost halfway through. Like, there's you're hinted at Amma for the beginning of the book a little bit, and then like you get brief glimpses of her and how she is as a person, but then like we have these chapters, and there are the chapters where we get to see her being the popular mean girl, even to her own sister, and then we have these other chapters where she's just such a loving sister to Camille. Like, she talks about how like they can be really, like, she really loves her as a sister, even though she doesn't know her very well, and she just wants Camille to love her. And, you know, so it's interesting, like, balance between these two. One who grew up and went already through a death of a sister, and going through a mental illness, and going through these harsh realities, and then escaping from this town that caused all these things and brings up all these memories for her, and seeing her come back and then talking to someone who's being raised in a similar situation, except with the mother's like full-blown love and care, like letting her do whatever she wants, babying her, dressing her up like a doll, and Camille being kind of sickened by that, because she's like, she never did that to me, and I just wanted my mom to love me, but she never seemed to love me for some reason. She loved Marianne, but she never loved me. And then Amma's here, and she's getting all the love from the mother, and Camille has to witness that again. And it was so interesting, because Amma would constantly be like, well, I don't really care if she loves me. I only care if you love me, Camille, because you're the only person I respect, kind of, in a way. So yeah, that was like, I think that was the strongest relationship in the book, and it was one that we saw only like brief glimpses of. I mean, it's a short book. It's a very quick read. So I think in the time that is there, it was a very well developed relationship as well. The brief relationships that Camille has with the other people in the town are good. They're great. She has a little romantic fling with the detective from Kansas City, Richard, that eventually blows up into like of course, the typical argument, like, oh, you just wanted me for your story. Oh, you just wanted me to know what I know. Da, 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 da. And then they make up, and then something happens, and, typical relationship stuff. And Richard is kind of, I don't know, he was kind of dull for me. He was just kind of a typical, I'm not going to say male character, because that's not what it is. He was a typical, like, cop character that is in the main protagonist's life, I guess. Like, of course, you knew they were going to have a romantic fling right away. It was obvious. They had to. Well, not had to, but it was obvious they were going to. And, like, their relationship never really got further than that. So it was weird. I much preferred the odd relationship between the sisters. The twist ending, like I said, there was a little bit of a surprise in it, but to me, I think it was a little predictable, so maybe not for other people, but, I mean, it's her first book, so, you can't judge too harshly. I will say that if you didn't like Gone Girl, you're not gonna like this book. If you didn't like the characters of Gone Girl or the story or anything about Gone Girl, you're not gonna like this book probably. Just because what I said before, she's very good at writing horrible people. And like I said, I don't mean that in the sense like these people are horrible. Some of them are. But I mean that she's very good at writing real people. And there are good people in the story. I'm not saying that she only writes horrible people. There are good people, like the Nash family. The Nash family were fantastic people, and seeing the trauma they went through after having their daughter killed was heart-wrenching, and it was horrible to see it and read about it, even though I'm smiling. But I think, like, even there are periods where Amma and Camille hang out and they go to these parties and all this, and like you get to see the kids of the town and how they react and all this stuff. And even John Keane, who is being blamed for the murder, like, he's still a good guy. You can tell he's kind of a good guy, but there's still also like, maybe he did do it, you know? You don't know. But just, it was a good balance of what you would probably find in a small town. Like, there are those people who are very much the gossips, who talk about everyone, who have to know everything, who start the rumors that may actually end up hurting people and their lives, and also the people who have no regard for themselves or for others. So it was a nice balance of that, and like I'm going to say it again, Gillian Flynn's just very good at writing these kinds of people. And they're interesting people. There are boring characters that you just kind of want to, you have to get through them. But, you know, every book has that, I think. Overall, I liked the book. I kind of preferred it than Gone Girl. I've read Gone Girl, and I kind of prefer this one to that one. I think Gone Girl, she perfected her style. Gillian Flynn perfected her writing style. But I think I liked this one because it's more raw, more bare. Like, there's not too many, I don't know. Gone Girl just felt like she was perfecting her style and doing this very meticulous puzzle, which was great. But, like, this book didn't make me want to throw it across the room. So I think that adds a plus to it. So overall, I'm going to give Sharp Objects an 8 out of 10. I liked it. I don't think I'll read it again. The characters were good. Like I said, the best relationships were between the two sisters, and I think Gillian Flynn handled the sensitive subject of self-mutilation, mental illness, and all that very well. A lot of the characters were still pretty bland for me. It was a kind of predictable story, so that kind of takes you out of it sometimes. So 8 out of 10 from me. And yeah, check it out if you liked Gone Girl. You'll probably like this. Just remember that she wrote this before Gone Girl, so she hasn't perfected her style. So, yeah, 8 out of 10. Next week, I'm going to be reviewing Bradstreet Gate, a new release. The book, kind of similar, a little less depressing than Gillian Flynn, but a little bit kind of like it. So, yeah, hopefully I'll see you then, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.